All right, as you look at weeks 13 through 15, here's some I guess progressions or adjustments or changes in the programming. So as you look first at the prep progressions, you notice a little bit different setup on the chart. You see at the top the miscellaneous. That's really all the more flexibility specific work, some static, mostly dynamic, to get you guys more flexibility work early in the prep process. So all the miscellaneous, there's force flexibility specific movements, and then followed by, of course, your mobility, ankle, hip rotation, T-spine. When you get down to upper neck activation, it's kind of blending the two now. I mean, there's a lot of scap stabilizers, glute, core, all that type of activation work kind of built in there. Also, you notice at the bottom there's no more med ball in place there, because you're going to notice when you get to the strength training program, the med ball stuff and kind of that plyometric elastic type work is built into the strength training program for these weeks. So that'll be a change. And when you get to the strength training, you're going to notice a little bit different setup. We're phasing into power or speed strength in this program number 5, and this is relative to your competitive season. You're still a couple months away, I guess, or just about that, from practicing. And of course, when you go into practices, you're throwing a lot, you're hitting a lot, so you're naturally performing high velocity movements with a 5-ounce ball, 30 whatever ounce bat. And at that time, it'll more important for you to be training your max strength to kind of balance out that continuum of speed strength and max strength. Well, right now, being that we're a couple months away from that, I want to infuse that speed strength or power into the training. As we've progressed up to it, now that we've established stabilization strength and maximal strength, 2/3 of the program, as you look at this, are focused on the speed strength or power. Now, as you look at this, you'll see 8 power movements at the top. You can see they're emphasizing the rate of force production, so it's not just about force production, but it's the rate of force production, how quickly you're producing force. And then the bottom 4 movements, which you would probably cycle through, a couple sets of those in the session, that's your strength movements, your force production. How much load are you moving? So very different objectives in those two. It's important that you perform your power movements up first. So like what we're doing is we're staggering, like in the Grissom setting, we're staggering the groups. The old group comes in first, they perform all their power movements, then they transition to their strength, and the younger group comes in, they perform their power movements and transition to strength. It's important you perform your power movements first and then go into your strength movements. So when we look at power, be very conscious of this. It's far more subjective when you evaluate it, because with strength training, like max strength, obviously you can dictate the quality of a set based on, can they move the load X number of times. Well, with the power movements, it's not about the load. Actually, the load's fairly light. You're working with body weight or light dumbbells or power bands or med balls, 4, 6, 8, 10-pound med balls. So it's about the velocity of movement, and it's about the consistency of the movement pattern. So it's very subjective in the evaluation. So the power movements rely upon the effort of the players more than any other program. It could be their toughest program or their easiest program, depending on what they put into it. The sets, like when you look at the rep counts, they kind of vary, because you want to go to you want to go until you see diminishing returns on your sets. Like for a BOSU power push-up, it's listed 6 to 10. Well, if the velocity stays crisp and the movement stays clean throughout the set, you can go to 10, you go to 10. But if it starts falling apart around 6 reps, you're losing velocity of movement, it's turning into a regular push-up, just cut the set off. We don't want to have any reps take place that are not velocity based, they're not explosive movements, because then we're defeating the purpose of our sets here. So keep that in mind as you watch the guys perform their sets. So you've got 8 power movements. You could just hit each one of those 8 one time. You could double back on some of them, just obviously based on how much time you're allotting for the weight room time. And then of course you go down to the strength movements, only 4 strength movements. But again, if you're staggering the groups, the first group finishes their power work and then they move on to strength, and they might cycle through the strength movements 2 or 3 times, depending on how much time you want to spend. As you go to the speed training for weeks 13 through 15, there are some changes here. You notice there's no plyometric section, because the plyo or the elastic type training is involved in the strength training, like I just talked about with the power training. When you move to the ladder, notice The term agility is in there now. To this point, I've been calling it quickness ladder. With quickness, it was about soft, quiet, quick touches, very little force production involved. When we talk about the agility ladder, now there's a lot of change direction using the same patterns. I'm not changing patterns. I want to use the patterns we've used, but now I just want to have more of an agility focus, which means there's more east to west movement as you move through the ladder. You'll notice, like in week 13 first, I want to teach them how to decelerate with like the Icky pattern, and then we progress to actually changing direction. So I don't know if they'll show up specifically, if you'll be able to determine it so much in the videos. Hopefully you will, but we should be taking the patterns and moving more east to west, more cutting. Every time you're on the outside of the ladder, it should feel like a cut. So again, that requires more strength to decelerate and change direction or reaccelerate. They should be more demanding. And then also, you notice each week has some sort of reaction component integrated into the speed training. We've done everything so far. I mean, so we've actually used it a little bit already, but we've used very defined and predictable patterns where they know where they're going. That's a good way to train speed and agility, but obviously we got to prepare the body to be able to react in an unpredictable environment like on a baseball field. And so that's why we're starting to integrate it more into the training the closer we get to season. So, a guy that runs, say, like a 4.840, I mean, that's great, but if he doesn't react well, it might as well be a 5.340 on a baseball field. We got to make sure, because baseball is such a reaction sport, we got to make sure that reaction speed is trained, not only from like a dead start, or also from, like, you'll see there's some things where you're moving, you got to react to either a coach or a teammate to make that quick move, adjustment, decelerate, and change direction. So those will be the changes you're looking for through that. Also, you'll notice I added some conditioning. If you want to use these, I have a conditioning progression I go through using 10-yard sprints, 20-yard sprints, 30-yard sprints. You'll refer to the chart for that. I've got some more that I can use in the last 3 weeks of the programming.